The first thing the president has said in his BBC interview, he wants to make sure that importation of rice is reduced by 70% before he leaves office. So that is out. So what we have projected over here, the national plan is to put under cultivation 50,000 hectares of lowland to be developed in Liberia between now and 2030. We have that potential. In our recently concluded field trip in 3 counties, we were able to realize, identify about 32,000 hectares in these 3 counties, both far from neighbor. The potential is there. We have not gone to the southeastern counties. The potential is there to develop the rice that we think we can do. So if we were able to cultivate 50,000 hectares of lowland, and we put in all the infrastructure, we grow rice 3 times a year, which is possible. It means every year Liberia will produce 450,000 metric tons of paddy rice. If you process that, you're going to be getting 300,000 metric tons of clean rice that can go to the market. You put down the market, plus what we are already producing, we will surpass the president's target of 70%. We can feed ourselves. So, while we've set that target, we want to be able to also settle or establish some cooperatives across the country that will be able to grow more rice. Recently, we were in Bindi, where they got a group cooperative. We went to Foreman. There are some cooperatives that have the potential to grow more. We supported them. But also, one of the things that happened in the rice value chain is the post-harvest loss. The last report that we got was post-harvest loss in the sector is nearing 70%, 35%. So we developed the national post-harvest loss strategy with support from the WFP, which was also validated during our national validation exercises. The intent is over the next 2 years, we should reduce post-harvest loss by 15%. So everything is in there. After the president launches this plan, we're going to have copies. So we also want to be able to, if we can implement the plan for rice value chain, we should be able to increase farmers' income by 30% over the next 5 years. We should be able to reduce import by at least 70% if we achieve this target, or even achieve self-sufficiency in rice production. The next crop is cassava. Cassava is one of the critical commodities, and it's actually very good for the women, because if you invest in the cassava field, and you lay out what you want to do for them, you can produce that easily. It doesn't require a lot of labor. Once you have the equipment, you can do that. So over the next 5 years, we want to be able to develop 20,000 hectares of land. That means we put machines that will lay out 20,000 hectares of land for cassava production. And the strategy is the cooperative model. The president always speaks about that, cooperative. So if we have 3,000 hectares of land developed for cassava, we want to be able to look at our smallholder farmers, predominantly the women and young people, who say, okay, we bring 20 producers or farmers to a 100-acre piece of land, lay it out for them. Each of those producers will own a maximum of 2 hectares or 5 acres on that 100 acres. When we lay it out, you are creating income generating opportunity for the 20 person on that 100 acres. You are also creating job opportunity for both those who will be working. So if we do our 20,000 hectares, we will be creating 500 cooperatives across the country to do cassava. Each of those groups will be doing around 2 hectares. And we want to also be able to create aggregation units, facility for them. If you are producing your cassava, at the end of your production cycle, you want to have somebody come to your farm and just buy the fresh cassava and take it to the factory where it will be processed into starch or other things for the market. So that aggregation lane in support of a value chain approach will be established. We want to be able to establish cassava culture modification centers across the country so that they give you improved cassava variety. On my field trip, we realized a guy in Nema who has some unique variety of cassava that is highly productive. we think if we work with people like those and establish these modification centers, we are able to supply elite varieties to our farmers. We've also started a conversation with LTHE. They are willing to support us with modification. They will give us some elite variety once we kickstart the project or the plan. We want to be able to transform the cassava into starch for export to create revenue for this country. The next is the maize, corn. Like I said earlier, corn is very critical for the poultry industry. For those of us who have had experience with the poultry sector, the greater cost of production in the poultry industry is feed. You buy one bag of feed. I tell my friend, I was doing that 60 birds. Then I had to spend $80 in 10 days to produce 1 carton of egg. And that 1 carton of egg I sell for $60. I left the business because I was losing $20 every 10 days. The reason is, Brad that produces the feed locally has to import the corn from Cote d'Ivoire or Guinea to produce the feed. So they sell it expensive. But we have land here. So what we want to do here is to produce corn on 20,000 hectares of land. If you do that, you will have sufficient raw material to feed our poultry industry. We want to be able to encourage the private sectors to come and establish feed production factory in this country so we can supply them the raw material. Please move the slide. Okay. So we will use the same model for cassava to produce maize for the market. And then we will support private sector investors who want to establish this processing facility for us to support the sector. The next is vegetable. Of course, vegetable, very critical for our daily consumption. In fact, the homegrown school feeding program utilizes a lot of these. And for those of us who like to buy vegetable, if you went to the street corners, or let's say where the vegetable sellers sit, you ask them, most of the premium vegetable like tomato, they come from other countries. The pepper we eat here, we are still importing pepper to a larger extent. So we think we should be able to increase to a larger extent the vegetable that we produce in this country so that we ourselves will eat nutritious food. We want to be able to help our farmers scale up their capacity by teaching them good agronomic practices and adapting climate-smart approaches to crop production. The FAO, we went to one of their project sites. I saw something that I thought it was something that we need to multiply or replicate across the country. And we've been talking to our donor partners. Some of them want to do, they will say where they are supporting group of women. Some of them 10,000 beneficiaries of that vegetable production system. But you don't see it on the market. What we are saying now is, if you want to support our women or other groups in the vegetable production, is taxable. So we are targeting to develop 2,000 hectares of land for vegetable production. And how are we going to do it, or what do we want them to do? You are not just going to give farmers seeds and say you are supporting them. We want you to develop the irrigation system that will support vegetable production around here. Because vegetables are needed throughout the year, but they are most needed during the dry season when you don't have them. But if you were to construct the irrigation facility that support production, we're going to have them around here. So we want to be supporting the vegetable value chain extensively. We want to be able to build some greenhouses around. So for the tree crop, we start with cocoa. Cocoa, as some of you may know, has been one of the greater income generating, prospects for our farmers. Pre-war, when His Excellency was the head of LPMC, cocoa was exported on a larger scale. So we want to be able to, even though we are now doing it, we want to be able to scale up. So we intend to support farmers grow additional 25,000 hectares of cocoa production so that they can increase the level of output that we need to generate more of our income. The standard bank report will tell you that most of the revenue comes through cocoa, so we can do that. The next thing to do that, to make that happen, we want to be able to establish a cocoa research center at the CARI, the Central Agricultural Research Institute. We want to be able to do that. Besides cocoa, we want to do coffee. Liberia used to produce what we call coffee liberica. Coffee liberica is an elite variety of coffee that people went for. But since the crisis, we have not been able to re-establish our dominance in that sector. So what we intend to do under this plan is to develop 15,000 hectares of land dedicated to coffee production. And we also want to be able to establish a coffee research institute at CARI that will focus on developing, the coffee industry. We want to be able to establish coffee garden. That garden will be there to develop new seeds locally that will be adaptable to our climate. In fact, right now, we have a cocoa garden in Lima County, supported by one of our partners. In fact, we want to be able to replicate that for coffee, production county. The next thing we want to do on a tree crop is to do cashew nut. Cashew nut is one of the commodities on the market that is it's hot right now, especially in the agricultural sector. Countries like Guinea-Bissau, I was amazed at how we utilize cashew to create revenue and income for their people. So we think those of our people who are in the cashew production, we need to support them. So we are targeting to bring under cultivation 10,000 new hectares dedicated to cashew production. We want to be able to support those who are already in the cashew production, support them to rehabilitate 5,000 hectares. We want to be able to also strengthen the research in cashew because cashew is the fruit that we see out there, right? So we do not have real technician training in those areas. We want to be able to establish a national research or an institute at CARI that will support the cashew sector. We want to be able to do that. Now, coconuts. The president said yesterday, comparative advantage is our national development comparative advantage. You don't have to be able to grow rice everywhere. Even though the southeastern counties have suitable lowland for rice production, but they may not be, as good in rice production as we see the Nimba and the people from one county. So what we intend to do under this plan is to introduce coconuts in the southeastern counties. The southeastern, especially those coastal counties, have better ground for cashew production, for coconut production. If you go to Grand Cru, Maryland, Sino, or Riverside County, you see already naturally they are into that. So what we want to do under this plan in the next 5 years is to actually plant 2 million coconut trees in those 4 counties over the next 5 years. That's what we said here. And we are not just going to establish those places or those plantations, let it go. We want to be able to link them to processors or private sector investors that will transform the coconut into coconut oil and other products. There are a lot of derivatives that come from coconut, so we want to be able to support private sector investment so that those in the southeastern too can benefit from, our engagement. I was talking to one of the senators and said, there are no investment in the southeast. We have to be able to establish an elite industry in the southeast that will transform coconut into coconut oil and other products. And we are committed to doing that. Besides coconut, we come to rubber. The rubber sector, I know there have been a lot of things around. I believe in value addition, of course. We think rubber has been very critical in our economy, but we have not been able to tap the full potential of the rubber sector. We want to commit ourselves to showing that happen. I said this and I will say it again. Liberia started producing rubber in 1926. At that time, Cote d'Ivoire was nowhere in the rubber sector. They were not doing nothing. The data shows that in 1961, Liberia produced 41,000 tons of rubber, and Cote d'Ivoire produced 82 tons. 1961. Fast forward, 2023, Liberia produced 118,000 tons, metric tons of rubber. Cote d'Ivoire produced 1.6 million metric tons. So a lot has happened that Cote d'Ivoire has surpassed us. So we think the rubber sector deserves some key attention. We are working with the key actors in there. But what we intend to do on our plan is to make sure that additional 20,000 hectares of land developed for rubber production. Those who are already in the production of old spots, we want to support 10,000 hectare rehabilitation under the plan. We want to ensure that the National Research Center, CARI, will have a dedicated institute developed for rubber research. So we want to have the Rubber Research Institute established at CARI. We want to be able to support some smallholder, some SME getting the value addition for the rubber sector. The next is, now we go to food crop. We talk about how we buy if you want to buy Boakai or avocado on the market, it's expensive. We don't grow them on a larger scale, so we want to be able to focus on expanding our ability to grow some of these food that we ourselves eat. So for papaya value chain, we want to be able to do 1,000 hectares over the next 5 to 6 years. We want to be able to develop the local traders' capacity to do some value addition with our papaya product. We want to be able to strengthen research in these crops. We are not doing it right now. The next is the avocado. For avocado or Boakai, we want to do 5,000 hectares over the next 5 to 6 years. We want to see our farmers having access to improved planting materials. There are some avocados that do very well, short duration. We want to be able to establish a nursery or a garden where we multiply these seeds and give it to our farmers. We also want to be able to improve their access to post-harvest handling facilities. Sometimes they pick the fruits, they get rotten because these crops are perishable. We want to be able to increase access to the appropriate post-harvest facility and technology. Also, mango. We want to be able to develop 1,000 hectares of land dedicated to mango production and bringing in improved variety. Most of the mango you buy or the plum you buy, besides the one we produce ourselves, some of them come from Cote d'Ivoire and other countries. So we need to be able to empower our farmers to grow more of what we eat. So we're going to be supporting them to do additional 1,000 hectares. We're going to be able to give them improved variety and the right technology. And also post-harvest handling technology. Here in Liberia, you will have gold plum in May, April, May, June. After that is over. You can't find it anymore. Only because of preservation. We should be able to help our farmers preserve appropriately. Then citrus, the same with oranges, 5,000 hectares. The same follow post-harvest handling facility, research, and access to improvement material. We do that. Then the same with banana. We want to do 5,000 because you see cocoa. If you're doing cocoa, if you intercrop cocoa with banana, they say there's environmental issue. So we want to be able to improve access to banana production so that you can intercrop with your cocoa. We'll be able to establish there's a belt already for banana production. We'll support them. Then, besides the crops, we go to livestock. Like we said, on our livestock plan, we want to be able to rehabilitate and restock our 7 major livestock ranches we got at cattle ranches across the country. We want to be able to also establish a national breeding program for cattle production. We want to be able to formulate a national policy that guides the development of the livestock sector. Besides cattle, we look at goats and sheep. I said earlier, we need to do some restocking for small ruminants like goats. I know there is a huge market now for goat soup or roasted goat. All around you want to go goat soup. So we want to be able to expand production nationally and also establish breeding program for the support country. Then of course poultry. A few weekends, the president said there should be Bright Farm or the Beaver Farm producing poultry. We want to be able to see some some of those larger farms emerge in. So we will support some of our additional people who are into production so that they can own their economy. So we tend to support 4 large-scale indigenous partner farmers to engage in better and air production. We will scale up the support of that. We also want to be able to support people in the pig-grade sector to start production of pork, the meat from pig. Fishery. There are great potential for developing the inland fishery sector. We want to be able to support our smallholder farmers at the household level to grow more, to get the fish pond, to develop more fish, or to develop more fish pond to produce fish. Because when you're talking about nutrition at the household level, I know fish pond with women participation will be very critical. So we intend to invest in that over the next 5 years. Now, we come to our cross-cutting investment. The first is mechanization. Like we said, we want to be able to establish mechanization hubs in the 15 countries. We want to be able to, especially in the more productive countries, you should be able to have access to power tiller, tractors for your land preparation. We want to put the machines in those areas where the farmers will go and have access to pay for production activity, but pay small fee for maintenance and operation. So we establish this hub in 15 counties. We'll also be able, we want to train our young people, because of the interest of the president, the young people have to be trained in the maintenance and operation of farm tractors. So we need to be able to do that. We want to also be able to enter into public-private partnership arrangement with some of our private sector actors to manage the machine that we place at those hubs. Right now, we have our team in the field. We've identified 5 of those areas already. We are trying to work with some of our bilateral partners to see how we can facilitate the construction and development of those hubs to host our machine. But again, here we have some conversation to get some machine. But we have to construct the area. This is where budgetary allocation will come in again. We'll talk about it. Then the next thing is strengthening agricultural research and extension. Carry, the research institute that we have, has lost its capacity to do research. As chair of the board of Carry, I was very amazed when we had the first board meeting. We realized that Carry human resource requirement is 10% met. So that means there is 90% gap in the human resource requirement at Carry. So we need to work on that. We will also be trying to develop locally made organic fertilizer to enhance our crop yield. We are already working with some partners who have expressed interest in developing for us some organic fertilizer production plan. We're working on the details of that. We want to be able to collaborate with other research institutions in the sub-region to strengthen our agricultural research capacity. We started some conversation with LTHE. We hope that will be finalized soon. Then, strengthening capacity at the Ministry of Agriculture. This is key. Please move the slide. This is key. We are on cross-cutting, strengthening capacity at the Ministry of Agriculture. Now the sales staff are here to be trained. If we have to build the capacity of the ministry at the regional level, we need to train 96 new staff. We need to hire staff. I just said the gap we have at the ministry. There is a gap in the technical staff requirement of the ministry. We do not have technicians, so we need to be able to hire the right technician. Above all, we need to establish the National Agriculture or the Agricultural Enterprise Development Bank to support our private sector engagement in the sector. Now, all of these things that we have said require money. So we have an investment plan that will facilitate implementation of this agenda or the national plan. Currently, as we stand, the Ministry of Agriculture does not even have a budget. We submitted $13.5 million, $13.8 million Ministry of Finance as our budget. When the budget came out initially, we got $3.2 million. The $3.2 million, all of that money, 2.3 was allocated for basic salaries and also. And in that basic salary, people, about 117 members of the ministry. So, this is the budget that we need. For the food cross sector, we have allotted what we need for that. We need to support breast production. We have 178.25 million that we need to invest over the next 5 years. So rice production takes 25% of our budget. This entire budget over the next 5 years, we need to spend $712,421,978. That's the budget needed to implement this plan. And this is how we distribute it among the different value chain. But I will pass over and come to this summary sheet, both the last sheet, financing the NDP. Please go to the last sheet. Okay, here. The total budget that we need to facilitate implementation is $712,421,978 for 5 years. For those that will go directly into value chain development are $609,281,978. For those for cross-cutting, we need $101,140,000. We are proposing that the development partners will pay, the government will be responsible to pay 30% of the amount needed for the value chain development. The government will also be responsible to pay 60% of the money that is needed to support the cross-cutting activities, the positive development. Our development partners will pay 45% of the amount needed for value development and 40% of the amount needed for the positive development or cross-cutting. The private sector investment will be 20%. And for the farmer organization or those incorporated will be responsible to invest 5% of this amount. So if you look at these percentages, it means the government needs to invest $244,668,593 into agricultural development over the next 5 years if you really want to see agricultural development. Our development partner will be talking to them to see if we can raise $315 million as their share of the implementation cost of the plan. For the private sector, will be facilitating. And this is where we need to have the Agricultural Enterprise Development Bank, because they will go to the bank and take credit. But in the absence of that, it will not happen. For the farmer organization, they will be spending $30 million over the next 5 to 6 years to support agricultural development. So we have the plan, and the investment plan is there. If the money is available, agriculture will be developed. But given the current trend of budgetary allotment to the sector, I think we will need to have a conversation around that. If we really want to see agriculture play the role it has to play here. We all know the importance of it, but the importance is not reflected in the way we finance it. So, Your Excellency, members of the Cabinet, this is the National Plan for Agricultural Development, and we solicit your support in its implementation. Thank you.
Thanks, the Minister of Agriculture right here, and this is a continuation of the ongoing 3-day retreat right here taking place as the Cabinet retreat taking place at the Interministerial Complex and the Director General of the Cabinet.
A round of applause again for the Minister of Culture. Okay, the next presentation is a big one. It is one of the President's priorities. He mentioned that in his annual address to the legislature. And since then, the Committee to Fight Drug and Substance Abuse has been established, and they've been working hard to address the problem. So we now ask the Ministry of Health and the Drug Enforcement Agency to give an update on the drug and substance abuse.
Drug and substance abuse, of course, is a major challenge in this country. Young people pray every day.
Madam Minister of Health.
The Minister of Health will take the front burner, and of course, she will address the gathering.
Your Excellency, Honorable Vice President, the Dean of the President's Cabinet, fellow Cabinet members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of agencies that associated with this drug and substance abuse. I'd like to recognize the Gender Minister, the Gender Ministry, that of Youth and Sports, the DEA, the Ministry of Justice. Your Excellency, I'd like to report to you that this committee been collaborating. There is no territorial issues. The level of collaboration has made us to reach where we are today at the end of my presentation. We will do a situation analysis, progress update, and next step. I promise you I will not be like the Dr. Luther. So for you to have a grasp of what's in globally as well as nationally, the prevalence of the drug situation, I'm disturbed to report to you that globally, 296 million persons between the ages of 15 to 64 years of age use illicit substances. They are using at least once, and that's a report for the UNODC, that is United Nations Office on Drug and Substance Abuse. In the since 2023, they said that 39.5 million people are suffering from this disorder. Nationally, we have done no real prevalence data, but we have had estimates because you need estimates to be able to make informed decisions. In 2016, the LTHE estimated that 77,000 young Liberian people, youth, were abusing substances. They did not give the age range. The UNFPA also did an estimate that puts it that 2 in every 10 young person in Liberia is abusing substance. And say 2 in every 10. Now you also know that older people also abusing substances, but they're talking only about the youth. So this could mean that over 1 billion of our population abusing substances. There is currently no public rehabilitation center in Liberia. We are renting the Grand Hospital that is on Tupo Road. The capacity is small. We have about 40 inmates per term. 40 to 80 is the maximum. That is when you cluster the beds up a little bit. And at Grants, you don't only institutionalize those with mental health problems that are drug-related, but also those that have inborn mental health problems. So the capacity is extremely small for our population. Non-governmental centers also exist. We have prevention centers, about 11 inpatients, 16 and outpatients, 5. Although they are not to the standard that we at the Ministry of Health want for them to be, but at least they are serving our people, so we give them a hand of applause. For the team, that is the intersectoral approach that we have. we were asked by the president to hear this. And it's because mental health, drug and substance abuse are mental health disorder. Once you start abusing drugs or substances, it tends to make you to be disoriented. That's why sometimes when we see our children going astray, we're like, oh, this one doesn't listen. We don't know it's of mental health issues that has to be addressed by medical practitioners. So we're doing a three-pronged approach. The first one is primary prevention, secondary, and tertiary. The primary prevention is ongoing. We are going to schools, churches, mosques in the community and doing awareness messages. Probably if you listen to the radios, you hear us sometimes speaking about this epidemic that is now engulfing our country. During the at the sports complex, during the counter meet, we did an awareness, we did recording that was broadcast. We currently have ongoing radio and television talk shows, we play jingles, and there are skits, dramatization. On the social media, we are there, we are doing everything to capture the attention of the population. Now, our particular attention for this prevention is for those who not yet been abusing drugs. So we are targeting them so our population cannot be, now we are saying 2 out of 10. Before 2 or 3 years, we'll be quoting like 4 out of 10. So that's the approach we are taking. The next step is the secondary prevention, and that's going to start the first week in July. We are now going to start treating, that's the treatment, we have done prevention, we are now going to start treating those with mild to moderate substance abuse. Now, those with severe, we cannot institutionalize them because you cannot place those severe with those mild to moderate. We are opening 2 outpatient centers. The outpatient center will be at the Invisible Park and at the MVTC. The level of collaboration with youth and schools, we went there, we identified the place with the minister, he said, yes, we can use those places for our recruitment. We intend to recruit 50 persons per day. So the 50 will go on the radio, announce the recruitment, and then we'll start 50 persons per day. The essence of the recruitment is for preparation for inpatient rehabilitation. What we noticed in the past, Honorable Your Excellency, that the recruitment was done without proper preparation. So once they took the disadvantaged youth from the street, they took them directly to the center, so the rate of attrition was very high, so they were non-compliant. So this time we intend not to do it that way. We'll take them to MVTC, we have a space there already, or the Invisible Park, where we speak to them, tell them the essence of going there, what will be expected of them, and we'll keep on doing psychosocial counseling from those that we believe will be ready to enter the program are the ones that we started recruitment with. Maybe somebody will wonder what's happening in the counties. Because we are piloting this, in the counties we have wellness centers, we have spoken with the county health officers, that in every hospital there should be a wellness center. So the wellness center will almost be doing like a prototype of what we are going to do. And it has to be far, some of the challenges we are having because it has to be far from where the patients are. Because initially if you have a disadvantage, you go into the hospital, there may be some miscommunication, misbehavior that will not be appropriate for the patient. So they identify some county health officers identify areas in the counties that we can start to use. So somebody may want to know, so if you take them into the inpatient center, what's going to happen there? That's the tertiary level now. We do detoxification, and that I must say that in collaboration with other line ministries, they've been very cooperative. So we are using the Clay Agriculture Vocational Training Center. We went there 2 weeks ago. The DEA, Youth and Sports Minister, we all went as a team, and we assessed the place. So it's adequate, and it's okay to host those that we want to take. But the only drawback, Your Excellency, is that we can only take 91 persons per turn. In 91, they're looking at the severity of what is unfolding in the country. The 91 is small, but we have to start. We have Bensonville, that we could move some of the disadvantaged youth to what is not yet prepared as Clay Vocational Training Center is. We have already beds and just minor renovation that we intend for the inmates themselves or the patients who can call them themselves to be able to do the minor renovation. So there we do detoxification for 1 to 2 weeks. We do psychotherapy, coping skills, because sometimes they go into they haven't really been into an institution before, so how do they cope? We start explaining to them how to rehabilitate them, occupational therapy, and then that's when it's an agriculture area, so that's why we took the agriculture area that we start doing agricultural activities. We saw some machines, and we asked that we talked to those who during the machinery, who were the tailors, to be able to teach them some of those skills. We work along with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and he will elaborate on that. So because the spaces, the bed spaces, they are so clustered, we intend to take 60 at a time, 60 residents. And the 60 residents will be there for a period of 3 to 6 months cycle. Depends on how fast we can turn them over, or 3 to 6 months. If we can just take that 3 to 6 months, we have people who have been rehabilitated to be reintegrated into the society. So that's when we'll be coming to the land ministries, the agencies, the commission to ask that some of these young people be employed, because some of them are skilled. They have graduated from universities, some of them are master's degree holder, but they became this way for certain reasons. So thank you for listening to us. These are pictorials to be going to churches and prophets. Lastly, before you give a hand of applause, people have been working higher class for the last month. So before we have already we've been looking at sites. So the first place we went to was Clay, actually, because I said earlier that we did not have anywhere personally or public facility to institutionalize these disadvantaged youth. Went to Clay, actually, I was taking aback at the place. It's a nice area. So I was like discussing with a mental health specialist, the psychiatrist. These are young doctors. Doctors, come up, please. Be helping. The other one is doctors, come up. Please give the hand of applause to the young psychiatrist. So, sometimes when I'm talking to, I'm like that, I think Clay Ashland is a better place, and they know how to do the money. So they said, no, let's go to Cheeseman, bro. We went there. And then they went there. Actually, in the mind, they wanted a Pentor. So they said, that Pentor is better. They convinced me until we talked. So you can look at the pictures. So we look at the land, Pentor. We wanted like 50 acres. And fortunately for us, the president passed the budget. There is $1 million that is there for this rehabilitation purposes, with $500,000 to start the project. So we have already gotten the land. The next step now is the infrastructure. We don't need it to elaborate, because if we have people with mental problems in place in an elaborate place in high-rise buildings, they can either fall or suicidal. Sometimes they become suicidal. So something that's just very simple that can be added upon in the future. So thank you for listening to us. We will keep you updated on we'll go public for us to have the public informed, people to come and start bringing their children or their loved ones. We'll also go to the ghettos to start a recruitment. I will now turn over to the DA boss so he can give his presentation.
The Minister of Health, right here, giving that expose, and now the DEA. This is the Executive Mansion online platform.
Your Excellency,
Abraham Kumar,
members of the Cabinet, Mr. Vice President, fellow government functionaries, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how much we can add to this process. The minister is actually the head of the government, the president task force. So we provided information to her, and she actually cogently articulated where we were and where we are, where we hope to go. I'd just like to dwell a little bit on the enforcement part of this process, which basically we are the antecedent part. We find the people, we bring them onto the various rehabilitation center By the way, rehabilitation is also a component under the DEA statutory mandate. But we work hand in hand with the Ministry of Health. We can get my slide. So basically, I might not want to dwell into the slide part because the Minister has given us the statistics and all of the different. I just dwell in a little bit into enforcement that we can deploy. We've been able to be vigorous. We've gone into, first and foremost, we deal with the guys that are importing the drugs, the trafficker, and the distributor in Liberia and apart. So we've identified basically the folks that we've known who work in hand with the intelligence community. We identified all of the distributors, all of the importers, and then we've started to gradually go after them on a regular basis. We've arrested a lot of the folks. And then we've incarcerated a lot of them. Basically, what we're doing right now, we are processing the guys we arrested with indictment, a very good cooperation with the Ministry of Justice. The prosecution department has given us an opportunity. We're now reviewing all of our cases, preparing for indictment. Basically, we do not want to repeat what was repeated before, what was here before, where you go to court, and people walk out because you couldn't prosecute them, and then they resort into recidivism, resort into lack of deterrence in the process. So we've outlined all of our cases. All right, that's our slides is coming up. So basically, we've outlined those cases, and now we've had most of the major distributors in jail. We arrested most of the importers now. Since we have a little bit of money now in our coffers, so we start to go beyond the border, start to do a little bit of intelligence into people that are bringing the drugs into our country. Most of our places we basically have, I don't know what is right to say, we relate all of the drugs that we've had into countries that have been affected. We got kush coming out of Sierra Leone, tramadol coming out of Guinea, and cocaine and the rest coming from Nigeria and other places. I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to, a little bit politically correct. But what we've done, we've identified them and we've segmented our operation. Most of what we do as far as enforcement is to go directly to those places. The western part of Liberia has been a very main and part of our operation people. We've identified pretty much about 19 places in the western part of Liberia. The disturbing part is that because we have been repulsed in getting these folks through the border, they're not trying to cross. They're bringing in drugs now through different components. They bring the chemical today. The next time we catch them, they got the marijuana, which is just a normal situation. They infuse the chemical in the marijuana to produce the coach. They also infuse this chemical, they brought another chemical to add on to the zombie drugs, which is a drug that was here almost a year ago. It's not a new drug that we've actually spotted. But what we've done, where they are coming from, we've focused our enforcement towards that particular part of the country as well. And like the minister said, we not only going for enforcement, we're now concentrating in identifying drug raid, ghetto raid, and most of our raid basically has produced distributors. We've arrested distributors in those raids, and then we've taken them out, which has given us enough insight into our rehabilitation company. And basically the Ministry of Youth and Sport has been a cardinal part of receiving our folks. They've accommodated us to, because most of the people, Mr. President, you see on the streets, in the various ghettos, there are people that we do not want to take out right now because we do not have place to carry them for rehab at this point. So you go into communities, they will ask you, say, look, we got this ghetto and this ghetto and all around the place. We can't get them from there because we have not had a notification from the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Youth and Sport that we have a place to put them. So we kept them there. We asked the police to work along with us to actually keep them provide surveillance, because if they are out of there, you'll be displaying them and taking them from one community to another community, because as soon as you read in here today, the next day they'll be going to another community, open ghetto there. And so we've asked that the part of the police have been very cooperative to actually allow us to keep them there and keep surveillance. And community members have come up. We rate based upon the kind of request that they produced to us. But basically, they have helped all of us. And we went along with the TVET people a couple of weeks ago to go and identify the person that the minister said in place. And then with MVDC now. Once we get those things straightened up, I can assure you that we will start raiding the folks off the street and then putting them in the rehabilitation center. We're now going to be visiting these places where they have rehabilitation centers. We want it to be evident. If it is not evidence-based, by some standard, it's going to be difficult for us to keep those places open, because they're violating people's rights with all of these up-to-date intervention, which has been a very difficult situation for all of us. Because once the guys, you perceive that they are there to go through the treatment, and in about a couple of days, they're back. And we have to deal with them in there. So our focus now, as we speak, is to concentrate on the rehabilitation part, yes, but the drug trade, the guys who are here on board that left the country, they're now showing up back in Liberia. And so it's giving us a little bit of challenge. And we don't know what is the budget right now, but whatever is there, we'll make sure that we invest into transportation, communication, and some technological arrangement, because we've started to digitize the folks that we have in these places. Once that is done, I can assure you that our enforcement tactics, our enforcement procedures is going to be a little bit elevated, and then we can forge ahead with what we have. Thank you very much, sir.
Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency.
When the president, when His Excellency made his pronouncement during the annual message, he said, and I quote, "Irrespective of your status in life, you young people are the live wire of our country and our most reliable potential for nation building." This means to us, when the arrests are done and the health component is carried out, the president wants to see their capacities built. Building them beginning with TVET. So for the next 30 seconds to 1 minute, let me introduce to you the Deputy Minister for TVET and the Ministry of Human Sports, Mr. Laraman Yehonton, to just throw light on where we are with reintegrating these people through the TVET mechanism. Mr. Yehonton.
Let's hear what he has to say from the
Thank you, Mr. President,
TVET
Mr. Vice President, distinguished members of the cabinet. As far as TVET, we've been very involved with the President's mandate and the National Drugs and Substance Abuse and Purchasing Task Force. We've been able to participate in the process of making 2 critical assessments. The first was with the Clay Agricultural Vocational Technical Center. And it's amazing to say that the Ministry of Youth and Sports is best positioned to learn from best practices, having successfully concluded the Agri-Use project that the President attended and certificated most of the graduates. 107 of them were graduated. And one of the lessons we learned from that Agri-Use project was the misinformation. So we've been able to clearly communicate with the committee that the model and the methodology used for the recruitment of those at-risk youth will have to be revisited. In the past, they were told that the government was giving money, and so that they needed to come and be rehabilitated. And that was a major challenge for the technicians who control that program. And so one of the ways we'll do moving forward is to do it through voluntary, through awareness, and through what we call the alternative to incarceration. with the support of the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency. As far as TVET, the Clay Vocational Agricultural Center is up to speed. We realize that there are a few technical issues that we have to address. One has to do with the security issue. Most of the at-risk youth that we send there under the at-risk youth project, we're using the porous border of the facility to get out into the community and still carry out the engagement of illicit drugs use. So we're deciding that we have the major critical points of that facility fenced so as to curtail the movement in and out, and also to stop the community's free access into the facility. Electricity is also a major challenge, and as a matter of fact, the DEA has promised to provide at least 3 armed security once that operation starts. Electricity is also a challenge. So quickly realize that there is LTHE at the facility, but it's not regular, and there's a problem even with the double throat. So we're looking to see how we can have this solar panel and solar lighting at the facility, so that not just the clients and participants that will be there, but our staff members will also be living and stationed there to have access to electricity. Those were the things. The dormitory, I know the Minister of Health talked about it, the clusterness, so we're going to ensure that we reduce the number of participants per room, but also we're going to make them to have life skills in a way. So TVET will provide the training in areas of agriculture, the general agriculture, and that goes for 9 months. We also provide training into soap making, and as well as tailoring. We've partnered with our sisterly TVET institution, LTHE, that has all of the setup for tailoring, and we'll be transferring some of the machines at the Clay Vocational Technical Training Center. I just want to let you just so I know the time we're pressed against time. Under the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the ministry supervises 7 technical and vocational training centers. All of those 7 centers, we have 4 of them that are specifically tailored to agriculture. So we have the Clay Vocational Agriculture Vocational Technical Center, we have the Tumutu Agricultural Vocational Technical Center, we have the Panama Agricultural Vocational Center, and the Youth Agricultural Technical Training Center. Of those 4, only one of them is in full capacity and is functional, the Tumutu in Bon County. Now there is a geographic significance to this. I know we've been talking about agriculture since the beginning of this workshop. The Clay Vocational, when brought to capacity, can serve that entire Western belt. And it's the same as what we have in Panama. If we are able to bring the Panama Agricultural Vocational Training Center to capacity, we can have a training hub that can pipeline a great deal of young people from the Southeast. And we've also done assessment with the Bensonville Center, and that effort was led by the Honorable Vice President, who was very interested and shown interest in our risk youth and the situation in leading to how we can transform and reintegrate them. So we're looking forward to working with the members of Cabinet to see how we can bring all of our centers up to speed and lead the process of pipelining these young people into agricultural training for the future of Liberia. Thank you so much.
Right, and the issue of TVET, Technical Vocational Educational Training.
We are behind schedule.
So
at this moment, we'll break for lunch and come back
and
after an hour. Thank you very much.
we will leave it right there, wherever you are. Just remain there. We're still here. On behalf of the entire team for now, Madam Kula Fufana, the head of the team, press secretary, and of course Lavette Famule, Samuel Zor,
Please take your seats.
the rest of them.
Please take your seats.
Emmanuel Kipper, Joe,
Take your seat.
Blackie is here as well. For and on behalf of the entire team,
You all remain in your seat
thanks a
until the
million
president and his
for being there. And
his cabinet
keep your comments
retire
coming when we
for lunch.
return,
Thank
and
you
we'll
very
talk
much.
to you later. Thanks a million. Pleasant day. Bye bye.